Okay, so now it's time to put our source files or TypeScript files all in the source directory and then combine some of our classes and stuff like that. So main.ts, this is not really that functional. So inside of src, I'm going to make another new file, and I'm going to call this main.ts here instead. And then I will go ahead and grab, well, let's see, I want to just grab probably just the import and the function. So I'm going to go ahead and copy these, bring them in here. Notice the import's a little off, so I need to get rid of src because it's now inside of src. So this is the new main.ts. So I'm going to go ahead and save that. And I'm going to make a new folder inside of here called archive, essentially so you guys can see some of the things that we've done. It's not going to have everything, but it will have a few of the files, and it's probably useful for what you're doing too. So if we go into dev, ts setup, archive is going to hold the second.js or second.ts and main.ts, and just opening the Finder makes that a little bit easier. So I'm gonna close out a few files here. Main.ts I'm not going to save. Webpack bundle second.ts not going to save, and close off a few others. Okay, so since we did this, we need to update Webpack, meaning since we moved main.ts into src.ts, I'm going to say the entry is src.main.ts, and we'll see what happens. So again, let's go ahead and compile with Webpack watch. Again, we're not using tsc watch, we're using Webpack watch, and we're going to optimize for minimize. So I get this error, and well, it's not really showing me what's wrong, right? So if I go to this, I see that I've got include here, but I'm going to add one more thing in this and just say src slash, or excuse me, double quotes, src star, comma. Okay, so this of course is in that tsconfig file. So we still need that, even though we're not using tsc, we still need this in there. And include will just add src into there. So now if I run it, let's try it again. It should run just fine, right? And it does. So now that that's there, we can now do http server c and -1. That should run our server just fine. We go back into Chrome, we refresh in here. Everything's running, but if we look at main.ts, nothing's actually here, right? So we're not actually running anything off of this. So what I want to do now is implement must have coffee to a class that I define inside of here. So I'll just say class really coffee and it extends must have coffee and constructor as we've seen before. In this case, I'm just going to keep an empty constructor. And then I'm going to cut out this function and add it in here. Okay. So there we go. Now I have the constructor empty, but I can't have it empty. Why is that? Because I need to call super, as we've seen before. And in this case, must have coffee doesn't have anything in the constructor other than a console log. Okay. So I've got this f function in here now too. So I can just say let new coffee equals to, and again, new really coffee, and then new coffee dot f true. Okay. And then we can also say let old coffee equals to new must have coffee. And that's that. So I save it, refresh in here. Of course, there it is. It's working. Of course, I could change the things that we've already talked about. So in my classes, I could add some stuff, and I could say type, and I'll just give it a string. Type is probably not a variable you might not necessarily want to use. So I'll just say coffee type. And in my constructor, I might want to set it here, but I'm not going to. Instead, I'll just say set coffee type as a method with a name being a string. And in this case, I will not set a console log. I'll just say this.coffeetype equals to name. Okay, so we've got that. So in main.ts, new coffee, set coffee type, and we're going to say the name is bulletproof. Okay, so I actually want to override this set coffee type method. So that means I'm going to set coffee type here. So set coffee type here. And I'm still going to put the name in. So I'll put a name of string. And I'll call super.setCoffeeType with that same name. Right? So it's calling that super call function. And this time I'm going to do console log. And I'm going to say, hello there, plus, let's put plus this dot coffee type. We save that, refresh, and there we go. Hello there, bulletproof. So this means I can override my classes here too, right? So overriding it, meaning if I got rid of that, it's going to say, hello there, undefined, right? So I actually don't have a coffee type. Of course, I could set one. I don't have to leave it empty. So I could say coffee type equals to bulletproof. Save that, and there we go. So I actually set it here, which also overrides that default, right? So there's a lot of different ways on how you could go about doing this, and that's where when we get into practical examples using Angular, which is definitely something we're going to be doing, then TypeScript's going to really start to shine using something like that. But in this case, we do see that, well, we can override methods from the classes that we're inheriting from, and it's fairly simple to do. I mean, I think it's more simple than Python in many cases. So if you were coming from a Python background, it'd be super, and then the name of this current class. So we'd say really coffee, and then self, and then we would have to run, set coffee type, and then put the name. Like I mean, this is how it'd be done in Python. This is how it's done in TypeScript. It's just really, really clean. It's a nice language. It's something that I really like about it. Okay, so now that we've got this, we can start to use a little bit more of a practical example just using TypeScript. So in my case, I would rather use TypeScript with jQuery. So you might want to use jQuery in your TypeScripts, and that's what I'm going to do. So I can kind of manipulate my index file in a way that I'm very used to using. Right now, using jQuery is not necessarily a good thing, but it's something that I'm used to using, so I might want to use it inside of TypeScript, and this is how we're going to do it in just a moment, or at least in the next video. If you have any questions on what we did here, let us know. Otherwise, let's keep going.